Obviously, every month there's a number of films that come out to theaters that have the potential to be great, and here are 5 of them that are coming out in March, featuring my co-host, Louis. Number 5 is Dune Part 2.
He who can destroy a thing has the real control of it.
I mean, let's be honest, this is probably number 1, but because it's such an anticipated release, I just wanted to get it out of the way and make room for some smaller projects. Obviously, this is the follow-up to Denis Villeneuve's Dune, the second part in a trilogy, the third part tentatively titled Dune Messiah. This film essentially picks up right where the last one left off, except this time there's a ton of action. A complaint in the first film is that there wasn't enough action, a lot of backstory and world building. In this one we have a lot of battles. We have a lot of stuff going on, and it is thrilling. From a technical perspective, I am hard-pressed to find another film this year that's going to top it. Sound, the cinematography, the production design, the visual effects, everything is done to essentially the nth degree. It is absolutely mind-blowing from a visual and auditory perspective. You shouldn't need much convincing. Go check it out, and check it out in IMAX if you can. It looks and sounds even better. I was fortunate enough to catch this on the fans' first release last week, but it is in theaters officially March 1st. Number 4 is Love Lies Bleeding.
The excitement in the air is palpable. The atmosphere is electric. A celebration of history in the making.
What is this place?
This is the second feature film from Scottish director Rose Glass after a indie success, but critically acclaimed horror film in Saint Maud. For me personally, having seen Love Lies Bleeding already, I did prefer Saint Maud, but this has the makings of a cult classic written all over it. It is essentially a queer love story / body horror. It may sound a bit niche, however, there is certainly an audience for it. There is some pretty gnarly gore, one particular scene that I'm thinking of, which after watching the film I'm sure that you will recognize as well. It's fun. It does force you to suspend your disbelief, right? There are elements of surrealism here, kind of like in Saint Maud, but even exaggerated more so in Love Lies Bleeding. It stars Kristen Stewart alongside Katie O'Brien. Katie O'Brien plays essentially a bodybuilder, and Kristen Stewart plays a gym employee. They fall in love and go on a murderous rampage, sort of. This one is out on a limited release March 8th and a wider release on March 15th. Number 3 is The Animal Kingdom.
Emile! Oh! Arrête ton cirque, c'est quoi ton problème? J'ai pas envie de discuter.
Admittedly, I was not aware of this film until a couple weeks ago, but it looks and sounds fascinating. It comes from French director Thomas Caillet. Apologies if I'm butchering that last name. He's a director who's fairly well known in France, but not really so much outside of his native country. Essentially, in this film, we see a wave of mutations hit Earth, and it turns into kind of obviously a sci-fi fantasy adventure film, but it also seems like it's going to be a father-son tale. The protagonist, played by Robert Durst, goes on an adventure with his son amidst all of these mutations, and I forgot to mention these mutations are essentially turning humans into animals. Think of a slightly elevated Animorphs. The director was nominated for what's called a Certain Glance Award at Cannes, which essentially recognizes filmmakers who are kind of pushing the boundaries of traditional storytelling and filmmaking, be it from a unique narrative or visual approach. So what that tells me is that this film is going to be a little bit different from some other kind of end-of-the-world mutant sci-fi films that we've seen in the past. You can catch this one halfway through March on March 15th. It is to be determined how wide of a release this will get, but hopefully it'll be playing in a theater near you. Number 2 is Wicked Little Letters.
The mystery of the obscene Little Hampton letters is causing widespread distress across the nation.
Edith Swan takes it up the and she loves it more than Christmas Day.
Only words matter.
She sucks 10 a week, minimum.
Holy heavens.
In the end, I think it's just jealousy.
This film comes from director Taya Sherrick, who is most known for her work in theater, but is really on a roll on the big screen right now. She has this film that has actually just come out in the UK and is coming to North America in March, and she also has the film The Beautiful Game coming to Netflix, which is based on a true story. This film is also based on a true story. It's based on a scandal that happened in England, where essentially in this little seaside town of Littlehampton, which is kind of on the coast near Brighton, we have residents in this town receiving obscene letters from an unknown individual, and essentially the town bands together to try to figure this out. Apparently it's a kind of a black comedy alongside this mystery element. Most importantly, it stars Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley, who are two amazing actresses, and despite some so-so reviews from early critics, it's hard to find a film in which these two individuals did not perform to the best of their abilities, so it's probably worth a watch just for them alone. As I mentioned, it came out in the UK at the end of February, and it is set to hit theaters in North America on March 29th. The number 1 film to watch in March is La Chimera.
Era un mezzo mago. Così ce lo siamo portato con noi. Tutta quella bellezza, i vasi, l'oro. Tutto lasciato lì per un mondo che non si sapeva neanche se c'era. Il mondo delle anime.
This Italian film from writer-director Alice Rohrwacher. Again, I apologize if I'm butchering that surname. She's not a household name, however. She already has an Academy Award nomination under her belt for a 2022 short, but unfortunately, short films don't tend to draw kind of that international notoriety, so this is the film that could potentially launch her into that next tier of filmmakers. It's being distributed by Neon, which is one of the largest independent distributors, particularly in North America, just behind A24. And this one looks so good. And by look, I mean literally the aesthetic of it looks amazing. It is a period piece set in the 1980s, and it really looks, from the trailer at least, that we're living in these moments with our characters. It follows an archaeologist who has just been released from prison, and he reunites with essentially his band of criminals as they go on a search to a door to the underworld. Makes sense given our title, being that Chimera is a figure in Greek mythology that is essentially a combination of various beasts, a representation essentially of the underworld. It competed for the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which is the most prestigious award at that particular film festival, and it has had some rave reviews from early critics. One well-known critic, Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian, wrote in his review that it's a film that utterly occupies its own fictional space. It expresses its eccentric romance in its own fluent movie dialect. I was utterly captivated by this sad, lovelorn adventure. Pretty strong words from a renowned critic, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the depths that this film seems to have. This one is also coming out at the end of the month in North America, March 29th, so mark it on your calendars. If you watch the whole video, appreciate it, featuring guest appearances from Louis and Wayne, my two lovely co-workers. Feel free to like the video, subscribe, do the comment thing, all that stuff. It helps with the algorithm, I'm told. And watch the next videos too. Thanks.